Hey, hello everyone, welcome back. And as we said before, we are now going to register our stake address and then we're going to delegate our stake to a stake pool. So, registering our stake address basically involves one new concept, which is the deposit. We have to make a deposit, and that is something that we haven't talked about. And that is actually something that we can read about in the protocol parameters that we queried before. So we have this protocol parameters file. We can actually grep for deposit. And there are two types of deposits. The first one is the one that we are interested in right now, which is stake address deposit. So basically, to participate in the protocol, we need to delegate our stake to a stake pool, either to some stake pool that we like or to our own stake pool. But that is like very important. That's a condition that we need to meet. And to actually be able to delegate, our stake address needs to be registered on chain. It's like saying to the protocol, hey, dear protocol, how are you? Can you please take my stake into consideration during the slot leader election process? And it will say, yes, of course. Please just make sure to put 2 ADA here as a deposit. And you will get it back if you unregistered your stake address. So that is more or less what happens. The other kind of deposit is like when you actually register a stake pool, you need to make another deposit, and that is 500 ADA at the moment. That's the required deposit. So now, what is the process for actually registering our stake address? Well, we need to introduce another concept, which is a certificate. We will create a registration certificate, and then we will include that certificate into a transaction and submit it to the chain. So for that, we have this Cardano CLI stake address. We have used this command before. We used it to generate our stake keeper, but this time we will use the registration certificate subcommand here. And it will take our stake verification key, either in the way of a string or as a file. I like most of the time I just use the file. This is for a script. This is not used now. And we will just produce an output file with, we can name, let's say, stake verification key file. And we can use stake.wiki. And from here we just out file, and let's name it registration.cert. So something like that. Cat registration certificate. There you go. It's a certificate shell, stake address registration certificate, and that's the thing that we are going to submit to the chain. And for that, we will create a transaction. And we are going to use our build command. So let me just Cardano CLI query utxo -- address, and I missed the cat command. And then test net magic. I should save testnet magic to environment variable or something like that. That would be nice to do. I will do that. So now we have two UTXOs. Let me just use this second UTXO, which will be an index 1. This is what I am going to do here. And let's just explore our command here, because we are also introducing this new option. There are two new options that we haven't used before with the build command. So because this is a certificate that we need to submit to the chain, this certificate is generated via the stake key. We used our stake verification key to actually produce the certificate. So when we build a transaction, this transaction needs to be signed by the payment key, but also needs to be signed by the stake key. So because we have two witnesses, we have to use this witness override. So we need to specify, okay, build command, you are used to have one signing key, but this time we need to use two, okay? So this will allow it to actually have a more accurate, a better calculation for the transaction fees. If you don't use this flag with the build command when you have more than one signing key involved, you will get lower fees than needed and your transaction will fail at submission time. So this is very important. Use the witness override to specify the number of keys that will be involved. And then Cardano CLI query UTXO, as we have done before. This time I'm going to use this UTXO that contains the 4199 ADA. So that's key 1. Then the change address will be the same payment with the stake. And this other option that we are using now is the -- certificate file, where we will include the registration.cert that we created before, right? And finally, just an output file, which we will call tx.raw as we have done before. This transaction will cost this level-less. So now, as before, we are just ready to sign the transaction. Note that, as we said before, this time we have 2 times the signing key file. We are signing with the payment as key and also signing with the stake as key, producing the transaction.signed file. And finally, we are ready to submit this transaction to the blockchain. And there you go, the transaction is successful. And let's do something interesting with that. Let me just, I want to cat payment with the stake.address. Let me just grab the actual address and let me come here to Cardano Scan, a beautiful explorer. I used it really a lot when I was working for the technical support team at IHK. I just love it. Congratulations to the guys that actually built it. It is very good one. I love it. Yes, so okay, so we have this stake key details, and this transaction a minute ago we had an action which was a registration. So we have this stake key history we just registered on chain. So that means that we were successful registering our stake address. And remember about the deposit? Well, yes, it was calculated automatically by the build command as well. And this is why you see here that this transaction paid the 1712.65 ADA that it gave us in transaction fees, but it is also deducting 2 ADA that are as the deposit. So that's great, and because the build command also calculated that for you. We have these 2 new concepts: the concept of a deposit and we have the concept of a certificate that we can actually submit to the chain. And we are now going to use another kind of certificate. This time, the certificate that we are going to produce is a delegation certificate, because now we are ready to actually delegate our stake, because our stake address is now registered. So to which stake pool? Let's just be fair and delegate to the pool that created this block where our registration took place, and it is pool PSBT, and this is their stake, their pool ID, sorry. Let me just grab a text file here. Let me just copy this pool ID here, and now let me come back to my guide over here. So now we are going to produce a delegation certificate, and to produce the delegation certificate, let me just come here, because I want to note that we can use either the Bec32 or the X version of the pool ID. Doesn't really matter which one you use. We could use this or that. And now this command, this Cardano CLI stake address delegation certificate, again, we will build it with our stake verification key. We will need that. And we need to specify the pool that we are going to delegate to. In this case, the one that produced our block, where our transaction for the registration certificate was included. And we will produce now a delegation.cert file. And let me just come here. And it is a stake address delegation certificate. And just as before, what do you think we need to do? Exactly that. We are just going to use our build command to produce a transaction. Again, this is a certificate, so this transaction will be requiring two signatures, one to pay for the transaction fees, and it will also be needed to be signed by the stakee. So we need to use the witness override option here to say that we need two signatures. Again, we're gonna read from the payment with the stake. We're gonna use the second UTXO in the list, and we are gonna send the change to payment with the stake, and we'll include this time the delegation certificate that we produced above. And as before, we create the tx.raw file that we will later sign. So Cardano CLI transaction signed, the tx row. This time again, we are signing with the payment and the stake signing keys, and producing the tx.sign file that we are ready to actually submit to the blockchain with the submit command. And if we wait a minute or two, we should see that we are now delegated to this pool PSBT. There it is. We are delegated to Xylobyte TN PSBT. There you go. So nice. Congratulations, we have delegated our stake to a real stake pool. So this is how you do it using a simple tool like the Cardano CLI. And very simple, but really, really powerful. So this is it. See you in the next video. So see you there. And well, thank you for joining. See you next time.